All right, I played and saw a bunch of new upcoming games behind the scenes, and I got a lot of stuff to talk about. In fact, I got to split it up between two videos. So here's the first one. I went to Summer Game Fest. There's a thing at Summer Game Fest behind the scenes called Play Days where I got to see a bunch of this stuff and beyond that, really. And the first thing I wanted to talk about, I'm cheating. It's not technically a game, but it's Xbox's handheld thing. The Asus ROG Ally X. This is Xbox's big foray into the PC gaming handheld territory. So yes, this is not like a thing that just plays Xbox games on handheld. It's more of a PC focused device, focusing on going after things like the Steam Deck, etc. And I was really interested to see this just because like I am a ride or die Steam Deck person. I love it. I'm on it constantly. But also I've messed around with a lot of other handhelds. I've borrowed friends and none of them really hit the same, whether it's the OS, the implementation, or just the hardware feel. I've kind of just stuck with Steam Deck. I understand why people, lean towards other ones like the original Asus ROG or the Lenovo Legion Go. Like, I get it, but I was always just like, I'm cool with the Steam Deck. That's great. So I was interested to see this because I really like what they're doing in terms of the platform. With this being a heavily Windows-focused device, as someone who is a PC gamer but just despises everything about Windows, I like how this is presented here. I don't have to see Windows. Everything is completely pared down, stripped back to just be a focused launcher. And what I really like is Xbox's whole new thing about just being open to everything. So this device is going to let you launch Windows game, Xbox game, Steam, Epic, GOG, like whatever you have, and I own games across multiple things, and being able to easily access it here in a nice clean interface is interesting. And along with that, I really like the feel of it. It is a little heavy. Like it's actually also thicker than it looks. It's actually, I found it to be thicker in person, like where the body of the screen is, if you're looking at it this way. And it's a chunky fella, I'll say that. But I think part of the chunk is warranted with the way the hand grips are. Essentially, it's a big Xbox controller molded into a deck or a portable device. And I think it worked really well. I think the controller feel was absolutely there. I'd say ultimately this still feels very much more like an Asus ROG thing rather than an Xbox thing. It has the Xbox button, but it doesn't like look super, it's like not in your face. I'm just really curious to see how this thing does. I'm very much interested in it. And after seeing it, I was like, ooh, yeah, I think I want to try and get my hands on one of these. With everything it's featuring, specs wise, it's pretty powerful. There's been like rumored prices. I think this thing is going to be pretty expensive. I could see myself getting my money's worth out of it, but that's going to vary, of course, from person to person. But one of the things I got to play quite a bit on it, actually, was Gears of War Reloaded. I got to see this new, remaster of the original Gears of War up and running with all the bells and whistles. And interestingly enough, I played a lot of it on this ROG Ally X handheld. And I didn't realize until for a while that the frame counter was at the top right corner because it was so small on the screen. And I was playing that sucker at like 75 frames per second at a point. And I thought that was pretty good. Yes, it's an older game. It's a remaster of an older game, but it's got a lot going on within it, at least. But aside from the handheld, I got to play it on a high-end gaming PC as well as on a PlayStation. I got to play Gears of War with a DualSense controller. And that was bizarre to me. As somebody who loved Gears of War, I had a period in my life where Gears of War multiplayer was the thing with some friends in like early high school, I guess. Just an interesting experience. Of course, if you've already played the previous like remaster cleanup of Gears of War 1, it's kind of what you expect, color palette, all that, little changes, better resolution, better textures. But now it's on overdrive, high frame rate, high resolution. It seemed like completely like no compromises, ran smooth as butter. And I just like also what they're doing here with like the cross-platform play and stuff like that with the multiplayer. So yeah, Gears of War Reloaded, very cool. Ultimately kind of predictable, but on sticking with the Xbox thing, the Asus ROG Ally X, which is just such a mouthful, Jesus, man. It does seem like a really cool handheld. I love the screen. I love the feel of it. I love the quality of the device. I also liked the launcher, the implementation, the scaled back windows, seeing and accessing different storefronts on there. I really like that. And honestly, as a handheld guy, I'm just excited to see more of that. And before we keep going, this video is sponsored by Bombas. I got a fresh stack right here. I'm always rolling with these. They're essentially the best socks ever made. If you don't know, Bombas is behind a bunch of quality items. T-shirts, underwear, slides, but most importantly for me is their socks. Their attention to quality, detail, and comfort is unmatched to the point where they actually made me... I never really thought about socks or cared about socks until I started wearing these because they're just that good. They've made me a sock enthusiast. High quality materials, tons of options, no seams, like I said, like attention to detail with this stuff, no seams or tags. Premium material like merino wool and extra long staple cotton just goes a long way with their stuff. Plus they have the policy of one purchased equals one donated, with Bombas actually providing over 150 million items donated to homeless shelters around the country, essential items. The most requested items at homeless shelters are socks, underwear, and t-shirts, and this provides. Along with that, they have a 100% happiness guarantee. So if it doesn't fit right, you don't like the size, or you're just not into it, you're good. You're covered. So you can feel good and do good with Bombas, knowing that your purchase is going to some real good. New customers get 20% off their purchase. All you got to do is click the link in the description down below or head to bombas.com/onjake20. Then when you're there, use code onjake20 for 20% off your first purchase at checkout. Again, that's bombas.com/onjake20 and use code onjake20 for 20% off your first purchase. Check them out. Thank me later. Big thanks to Bombas for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to it. Now, the next game I want to talk about is one I was really excited to see. This is Marvel's Cosmic Invasion. This is significant because it's from Dotemu and Tribute, the folks that made Shredder's Revenge, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game, which I really, really loved. The year that released, I think it did crack my top 10 of my game of the year for that. I like beat 'em ups, I like retro style brawler games, and Cosmic Invasion is right up my alley. As a comic book person, I was very happy to jump into this, and I was not really surprised by what I saw, in terms of it seems pretty awesome. It's from those people, so it's got the good sprites, the good art, but also like the good control mechanics and feel. They understand that there can be some complexity to these simple beat 'em up style games, and that showed here with a lot of moves I was able to execute after like wiggling the stick and figuring things out, but also the fact that like you're swapping in and out characters like a Marvel vs. Capcom or a tag team fighting game. You're tagging in characters, and in this type of game, it was really cool to be punching an enemy as Captain America and then mid combo switching out to Spider-Man, who would come in and do a special ability and continue that combo. That was just really fun to do, and playing with another person cooperatively and us setting that up together up against bosses and having like essentially 4 characters almost attacking at once. Really cool shit to just see execute. But like complexity aside, just in terms of pure simplicity, just fun, good, simple stuff. As someone who grew up playing like the X-Men, 4-player arcade game, I like stuff like this a lot. Not to mention the fact that this game just has like some incredible art, the music, the style, the startup intro animation, all these characters incredibly animated, just looks so cool. Wolverine, Storm, Captain America jumping in. I just love to see that. And then playing the game and just kind of running around and comboing as Spider-Man or whoever and punching AIM soldiers in the face. I don't know. That stuff warms my heart. I think this one has a lot of potential, but of course it is like tailor-made for me, for my preferences. But as of right now, we do know it's coming in 2025 at least. Next game I got to see was just like a very early kind of like work in progress presentation. I got to see the game running. I didn't get to actually get my hands on it and play it, but I did get to see a bit of Code Vein 2 gameplay. This is one that was just not on my radar. I didn't expect this game to get announced. I did play Code Vein, the original, quite a bit actually. But afterwards, I kind of just like moved on and never really thought about it again. I thought it was pretty good, but I don't know. I wasn't necessarily begging for a sequel or anything, but here they're doing some interesting things, specifically around time. You're essentially shifting between 2 different time periods. One where the Revenant are out there, and then one where like the Revenant are completely wiped out. Or this is like this game universe's version of vampires, sort of. It's a long story, but essentially between shifting through these different time periods, like a destroyed world, a not so destroyed world, not only different color palettes and like different blocked entrances, enemy types, like all that really to me seems like it's a direct acknowledgement of kind of the first game having some boring environments. the environments and levels and just how it was all designed wasn't really too much to write home about. So it's nice to see they're actively working on that. It's also just like a bigger world. You're going to be able to hop on a motor. The trailer showed like hopping on a motorcycle and riding around and stuff like that. But then in terms of like the RPG depth, what they are doing is giving you a lot more of like these partner mechanic things, as well as more build customization, like just a lot more you can do and a lot of different ways you can build out your character. Not to mention they also did show, I know like the trailer just showed like 2 specific people, but there is a full suite, like a full character creator this time once again, where you can make a character that doesn't even look like it exists in that universe. Like you can make a character look like it's from a totally different anime or something like that, which is cool. I appreciate that stuff. So Code Vein 2, like not blowing me away or anything right now, but I did get to see a really, really good boss battle that had just some incredible monster design. So I'm keeping my eye on it. Next, sticking with some kind of old school stuff, Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. This was awesome. I don't know why I went into this just kind of not knowing what to expect. It's kind of obvious if you think about it. So it's a new Ninja Gaiden in the style of the old Ninja Gaiden, not Ninja Gaiden that was born with Xbox and stuff like that, which I grew up playing, but the old school stuff, which I have some experience with. As a wee boy, all I knew was that it was really, really hard. And Ninja Gaiden Ragebound is very difficult. It seems like they're working around it and giving you some options and some room for some accessibility in certain ways in terms of like abilities and stuff like that. But still a very intense, challenging game, like with a screen filled with enemies and things flying at you that you have to parry and dodge and run and jump. But I bury the lead here. Why this is interesting is because it's from the Game Kitchen. This is the people behind Blasphemous 1 and 2. As much as I have limited experience with them, having friends that are obsessed with them, these games are the real deal. So for them to take on something like Ninja Gaiden, really, really cool. What I see here is them taking their fluidity of their mechanics and their incredible art design and stuff like that, and then making a Ninja Gaiden style game, an OG Ninja Gaiden style game. And it does feel faithful and interesting, and people who are like aware of the story of the original one are going to find some things actually quite interesting. What I did notice, and this is good because it was like something that they had pointed out in the marketing, but I noticed it right at the forefront. The music really kicks ass. The music, a lot of it is in collaboration with the original composers, and it absolutely shows. The music ripped. I was just really happy with this one. I played a lot of it. I did die a lot, but I still found it fair. I found it doable. There's a lot to it in terms of like encouraging speed and rapid thinking in terms of like hitting a special orb. That orb powers you up and allows you to kill an enemy in one hit. When you kill that enemy in one hit, the orb floats to the next enemy. You need to immediately beeline to that enemy, hit that enemy. That enemy will die in one hit, but that will also tie into breakable objects and triggerable things in the environment. So a lot of it is around trying to juggle this powered orb thing. I'm butchering whatever it's called, but like hitting it and then hitting it and then hitting another guy and then hitting a gate to be able to get through in a very fast period of time. I think like in terms of speed running and just like crazy reflexes and stuff, I think people are going to have a good ass time with this one. Next up, briefly, I did play Deadpool VR. I got to spend quite a bit of time in this world of Deadpool, and it's certainly interesting. So essentially what I got to play is a whole level where Wade finds himself on a shield helicarrier under attack by an enemy force, and you just kind of kill your way through. It starts off with a really good like Deadpool-esque gag where his head is separated. You're looking as the head, you're looking at your body, and you're moving the joystick to get your body to walk up off the table and come and pick up your head and put it on your body, and then you go nuts. And I think where this game will succeed is that like kind of badass Deadpool wish fulfillment, where, I mean, like, look, he's a character that, is very hard to kill, and he has 2 swords and guns. That flexibility really is on display here, and I think it mostly works. What doesn't work, or at least like what I was able to hear in a short period of time, and again, it's a work in progress game, but Neil Patrick Harris as Deadpool, not really something I want, especially because it's not Neil Patrick Harris as character Deadpool. To me, it sounded very much like Neil Patrick Harris as Ryan Reynolds playing Deadpool. And I think that's where there's room for error. You have somebody like Nolan North, who did Deadpool in the pretty underrated game from many years back, like before the Deadpool movies dropped. I wish we could have something like that, but with him kind of doing the Ryan Reynolds thing very, very specifically, it just didn't feel right. What did feel right was how comic booky and goofy and chunky the world was. A lot of references, a collectible comic book collectibles that you would just find in the environment that are like real issues with real covers and stuff like that. Hints that there's going to be a lot more cameos and weird shit like that. That stuff I like. Just the Deadpool quippiness himself wasn't quite landing with me. But back to gameplay, I think what really works is how crazy and chaotic it is. What I really was surprised to see is that this plays like ultra kill or like something fucking super fast. It has a lot of options for, VR sickness and moving and stuff like that. But as someone who is very experienced with VR, I had full control and I was essentially zipping around the environment, double jumping, wall running, shooting enemies, zipping down to other enemies, ground pounding. And what I liked about the game was that basically anything in your head you kind of thought of doing, the game will adapt and let you do that. Whether it's shooting somebody and then throwing the gun at their face, fighting somebody with a katana, then trying to block the bullets with the katana. Like organically, that just started happening. I was like, oh, cool. Then I was like, blah, and I just threw my katana at a guy. It pinned him. So you're killing enemies, they're dropping their weapons, you're scooping up their weapons midair and firing with them. You katana in one hand, machine gun in the other, like just really, really flexible in terms of zipping around in an environment, killing dudes. A lot of really good over-the-top animations. You can pull a grenade from your little wrist thing, throw a grenade, and you'll see enemies kind of like goofily spaz out when they see your grenade. I shot a lot of guys that fell off a railing and fell down below. Like it lets you kind of riddle them with bullets or really chop them up even after they're already dead, which I appreciate. The katana, you swinging them around just felt awkward. That's the only thing. I didn't feel cool. The feedback was okay, but the problem is that a lot of enemies, the heavy enemies, you have to stop, block them, then that stuns them and opens them up for an attack. That to me kind of killed the momentum of what otherwise felt like a very fast and frantic style game. Look, I don't know if this is going to be on the level of something like an Arkham VR like type of experience, like Arkham Shadow, which I loved last year. It was like one of my favorite games of the year. This doesn't feel on the level of that, but in terms of just like a fun chaos simulator, it could scratch that itch for some VR people. Last but certainly not least, Crimson Desert. I know a lot of people have been waiting for me to talk about this one. I kind of alluded to it or talked a little bit about it on Friends Per Second, and I did hint that this demo was rough. And by rough, I mean this game does have a lot of systems. If you've been following the development of this game, there's so much you can do. Big, massive, open world RPG with all these combat elements, all this shit. So I was essentially thrown into the middle of the game when the world state was in an intense battle with hundreds of NPCs just warring with one another. And I was supposed to go around and do quests and do objectives. It was crazy. So what I will say is that I'm glad this is a game. Like, this is an actual game. I don't know if you guys are like me, but I've seen trailers for this for so long, and I'm like, is this for real? Are they really pulling this off, like visually, but then also just like all the shit going on in this game? Can they really pull all that off? And so yes, getting my hands on a controller and playing, it is very much a real game. It is an incredibly ambitious game. You could tell just from the amount of things going on. Like I said, I was thrust into this huge battle sequence, but I was also just free to like hop on my horse, like call my horse, ride around on my horse, run through these battlefields, chop down guys, get to my next quest guy, talk to him, ask him some questions, and do something else. This game has a lot of moveset stuff. So you are like RPG guy, right? Like you are badass man, has some really cool armor sets I was able to experiment with, but you are essentially superpowered. You're able to do all these different things, summon these abilities that enable you to do some crazy shit. And it seems like the game really encourages a lot of experimentation with that, how these things build on top of one another. I had issues because it seems like all these little abilities are doled out to you over the course of a game, and you know how to use them, when to use them in specific situations. You slowly learn how to combine them. I didn't have any of that. So I was kind of just getting my ass slapped around by warriors, and I'm just dying constantly. But what I was able to see is that like you can do once you figure it out, like, you know, you'll fight these big warlord tank fire machine things, and it's like how you combine your magical double jump up ability to then use a different ability to slam down on top of them or throw, a projectile type thing. Couple that with like a magic grapple spear thing you can throw on certain objects, and then you will teleport to that object. So I went up to big like battle siege towers, teleported myself up there, and then from there combined with my glide ability to glide across the battlefield to my next target. Along with that, I have like a special bow I can fire that leaves a marker to, I guess, guys I have on the other side of the battlefield that then fire down a rain of arrows. Then along with that, I also engaged in a pretty big boss battle. This is like an action RPG, it's kind of like like a little bit of a Dragon's Dogma kind of feeling game, but I did engage in a fight that was very much like a big Souls-looking guy boss, big evil knight, and I had to parry him a lot because he had armor, which meant I couldn't just strike him the normal way and whittle down his health. I had to parry and parry and parry until his stamina was drained. He was stunned. And while we were fighting, this guy was knocking down columns in this beautiful ornate room, right? So then the game has like a master hand style ability, ultra hand ability, like from Tears of the Kingdom, which is insane that this is also something in the game. But so I would stun this guy, right? And while he was stunned, I had to move over, activate the Ultra Hand, find one of those columns, use my magic ability to summon up the column, bring it up to my shoulder. Then from there, manually equip it now as a weapon I have, and then swing it and bonk this guy on the head, all in a very small window of when he was parried. That's just a lot of shit to wrangle and handle in a game. I think some people are really going to dig that, though. The fact that it just has that much going on, and the fact that I can also do that, not just in battle, but just out in the environment. I was using this Ultra Hand thing to, help carts assemble big battle flags and shit like that. So I'm just curious to see how this all comes together, because I didn't get to see a lot of story or the regular open world stuff, like the economy and NPCs and stuff like that. The NPCs I did talk to had some pretty stilted voice acting, and they all looked really ugly. They looked pretty lifeless. But again, I'm playing a work in progress version of the game. A lot of that stuff can improve. The main character that I played as had really good voice acting and just looked badass. So it seems like a game that has a lot of systems, a lot of elements to it, and it might be kind of jacked up in points, but also I can't help but admire its ambition and the amount of stuff it has in it. I came away frustrated with how I was dropped in the middle of the game and was dying constantly, yes, but also really excited to see more. This is significant also because it's from the developers Pearl Abyss, the people behind Black Desert Online, and they make gorgeous games. That was a huge game, but this is very different for them, but I think they're onto something. But I don't know, that's all I got for you guys today. Like I said, I'm splitting this video up into 2 separate videos because I have so many games to talk about. The other video, I'm going to be talking about Capcom's Pragmata, Onimusha Way of the Sword, Sword of the Sea, a couple of interesting indies and stuff like that, some things that Epic Games are publishing. So keep your eyes peeled for that video. When that's done, if you're watching us later, it'll be linked down there or something. But let me know what you're thinking about the stuff I talked about today. Code Vein 2, yeah, interesting. The Asus ROG Ally X, I just like the way it felt in my hand, and I'm excited to see the platform stuff. Of course, freaking Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. Was that on your radar? Are you kind of like an old school player? Essentially, it's like Cuphead, but for big boys. Even though difficulty-wise, Cuphead is for big boys, but you know what I mean. Let's talk Crimson Desert, Deadpool VR, anything down in the comments. Any questions for me, hit me up. I'll try and answer as much as I can, but if you want to yell at me directly, you can always find me on social media. That's all linked down there. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I'm just trying to talk about stuff I love, stuff I find interesting. So if you get that, clicking the like button helps me. Thank you. But that's it. I need more coffee. I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for watching. Subscribe because video games. Pizza's on me.